Welcome to the Black Educated Tea Podcast. I'm your host, Makeda Marie, and today's topic is Black Girls Read. But, as always, before we get into the tea, let's get into this tea. So, I am just drinking a lavender tea today. I mean, nothing extraordinary, nothing fancy, just a basic lavender tea with a little bit of agave in it. Lavender is really good for just relaxing, and lavender is good for so many different things. A lot of your cleaning products have lavender in it. A lot of your fruits and things that you buy from the store has lavender in it. So lavender is a really good tea because it has a lot of really good benefits. So I am drinking a lavender tea today. And there's another thing here that I want to point out on the Black Educated Tea Podcast. We're going to start incorporating affirmations in here because I am a true believer in affirmations and going to affirmations when I need a pick-me-up or just to start my day off. And so Oasis Vibe actually creates these affirmation cards that are absolutely wonderful. They are guaranteed to really help you, not only throughout the day, but just whatever journey or whatever you're, going through, your healing. These affirmation cards are really good. And so the affirmation that we have for today is, I am grateful for all things big and small. Take that in and actually take a moment to just think about that. I am grateful for all things big and small. Then on the back, because these are front and back, which is a really good, plus as well. How often do you take time to appreciate life? How often do we take time to appreciate life? I am guilty, and I can say that I don't always take time out to appreciate life, things big and small. Maybe it's a Capricorn trait, but as a Capricorn, we always, okay, I want more. What's next? I got to figure out what can I do next? What's the next thing for me? What's the next big thing for me? Got to get to the money. That's a Capricorn thing, I always climbing, it's just a Capricorn thing. And so I am guilty of not taking those moments in appreciating life of things big and small. But I am learning to do those things because in order for me to continue to receive my blessings, big and small, I have to appreciate the things that I already have. And that doesn't necessarily just mean material things. That just means people in my life, my loved ones. I have to appreciate them. And I have to appreciate everything that surrounds me, no matter what it is, in order for me to continue to receive blessings, big and small. Take time out to appreciate life. And then be grateful for the things that you do have, big and small. So let's go ahead and get into this topic of Black Girls Read. Oh man. Black Girls Read. For me, my reading journey started when I was about 10 years old. I was a typical 10-year-old. I would love to go outside. I was probably more of a tomboy, too. I would say I would love to go outside, climb trees, ride my bike, skate. I would be on my bike rolling down the hill. That was the thing to do. Climbing trees. I love to skate. As you can, I've shared my journey on skating. I absolutely love to skate. So I was a typical 10-year-old. I love to just be outside in nature and playing with my friends. But then there was another side of me as a 10-year-old. I used to love to go to the library. I was that 10-year-old where I would just be in the library for hours. I was just so intrigued and so excited when I would go to the library, and whether it was the neighborhood library that I would go to or what we had where we considered the main library. Oh, when my dad would take me to the main library, I was so excited. My go-to was biographies. As a 10-year-old, my go-to for books was biographies. I absolutely love to read biographies. I've always just been so intrigued on hearing about people in their lives and their journeys and the things they've gone through and, what it took to get them to where they're at now. I have always just been so fascinated by this. So my go-to was biographies. And I would still do the Goosebumps books and, stuff like that because I was still 10, so I was still excited by those. But I was that 10-year-old that wanted to read, Patti LaBelle book and Gladys Knight. And I was that 10-year-old. I wanted to read about these people. I wanted to know what was their life and what was their journey and how did Patti LaBelle become Patti LaBelle. That's what I wanted to know as a 10-year-old. And that stuck with me for years and years. And as life got in the way, as a hectic schedule got in the way, I started reading less and less. And I'm trying to get to a place now that I'm starting to read more because it's my go-to. It's, one of those places where I can find my peace. It's one of those places that I absolutely love, and that's to read. And so I started getting in these different groups, I would say, where they would talk about, different books. This is the book we're reading for this week, and then we're going to, have a conversation about it. Or, this is the book that people would suggest. And so I would go buy these books, and I didn't read them like I should have. So I have like a ton of books that I just don't read right now. But I have to. I have to make it a goal that I do read these books, because it's something that was part of my childhood that I want to now incorporate more into my adulthood. As adults, sometimes we tend to think that things that we did as a kid no longer fits us or serves us, and that's totally not. That's no. So throw that out the window. No, because there are plenty of things that we did as kids that we can still do as adults and still get that joy out of it. And for me, reading is one of them. And so I have a plethora of books that I have to read so I can get back into that journey or that part of my life. And then another thing I noticed too about, books and reading, I try to do it on my iPad, on the Kindle, and it's just not the same. It's just not the same. I try it, and I'm sitting there and I'm holding this iPad, and then I'm flipping through it, as I navigate through the different pages, and I'm like, no, this is not working. I need a book I can just hold. I need to smell and feel a book. I just need a book in case I want to highlight some things and mark some things up. I don't know what it is. Well, I do know what it is. The fact that as my childhood, I had a book. I had the touch, the smell of a book. So for me, that's what I need. I need a book. Now, if I was more of the generation where the iPad and, and then going straight to the Kindle was the thing for me, I would probably be more open to it. But the fact that was part of my childhood, going to the library to actually get a book, feel a book, touch a book, smell a book, I have to have a book. And so I'm going to continue to purchase books, and I'm probably going to continue to purchase things on Kindle as well, because let's be real, sometimes they are a little bit cheaper, because I'm subscribed to Kindle, so some books are actually free. I have the unlimited sometime, and then sometimes books can be $1.99, $3.99, whatever the cost is. Sometimes they may be cheaper on the Kindle, but it still does not beat me just having a book that I can hold, put my hands on. Nothing beats that. And so as a black girl, I love to read. That is me. There's a lot of things that I love to do, and reading is definitely on my top 5 list. I will say it was, and I'm going to get back to that. It's still a part of my list. I'm working on it, you all. I'm working on putting it back on my top 5 list. I'll say it like that, because it is a part of me. I'm one of those black girls that absolutely love to read. And there's so many of us. This whole misconception, we don't like to read, or, like, who started that? There are so many of us that love to read, whether it's a book or magazine or article, no matter what it is. We absolutely love to read. So throw that whole misconception out the window that we don't love to read. Black girls, we love to read, because I am a black girl that loves to read, and I am one of millions and millions that love to read. So what are you reading? I would like to hear that as well, because I'm always looking for new books to read. So when I do get back into reading, I'm going to have so many books to read. I'm going to be good for a good year or two on books, I'm going to be good, because I'm going to have so many books to read. So I would just love to hear what you're reading. And what is your genre of books that you love to go to? For me, like I said, it's biographies, and probably over the past 3-4 years, it's been self-help books as well. So those are my two go-tos. I love self-help books, and I still love my biographies. I just cannot get rid of my biographies. I absolutely love to read biographies. But as I started going on my healing journey and started, trying to change some things in my life, I started to incorporate the self-help books as well. So what are some of the books that you're reading? Are they biographies, sci-fi books? Are they self-help books? Are they history books? What kind of books are your go-to? Because it looks different for everybody. Some people don't want to do biography. Some people don't want to do self-help books. So what does that look like for you? Because I would just love to know, because mine is biographies and self-help books. But I'm always interested in reading. And a lot of times, sometimes I will just get out of my comfort zone and read other things as well. And some do hold my attention, and some just don't. Like books that are created, fiction, nonfiction, books that are created, and movies are created from these particular books. I would say I love to do those as well. Like Mama Flora's Family, I absolutely love the book and I love the movie. Mama Flora's Family is one of my favorite movies and also one of my favorite books. I absolutely love it. Alex Haley, a lot of his books are just as good as the movies. And so what are those particular books that you may like that, movies have been created around them, even like The Color Purple? I love The Color Purple as well, the book and the movie. And sometimes, they'll create a movie from a book, and it's just not the same. It kind of loses its touch, and they leave so many details out, which I get they have to, because, depending on how long the book is, the movie can't be 5 hours, if you was to take all the details from the book. So sometimes things do get lost when movies are created from these books, but there are several of many books that I love that they created movies from, and the movies are just as good. So, what are you reading? What is your choice to go to? When did your reading journey start? Like I said, mine started probably like 9 or 10 years old, for what I can remember. My memory is as you get older, you just have so many life experiences. You can't always just pinpoint everything. So I'm thinking this started like at 9 or 10 for me. And it may have been a little bit younger, but I can definitely remember at like 9 or 10 going to the library with my dad. And so I think that's the moment it started for me, going to the library and just going through the different sections and going straight to the biographies. And I would stay on that row for just hours. And then my daddy would be like, okay, it's time to go. And I'm like, I don't want to go, But of course I would check these books out and bring them home and finish reading them. Are we even still going to the library, you all? Are we? I take my kids to the library as often as I can. And when I go into the library, it's like a ghost town in there. I'm like, man, are people really going to the library anymore? Because it was the thing when I was younger. You would go to the library, there was plenty of people in there. You go to the library now, of course, because of COVID and, things of that sort. But even before COVID, and I would go to the library, and I'm like, man, it's just not as busy and vibrant as it once was. And I love bookstores. Oh, my God, I absolutely love bookstores. There is a bookstore in Nashville called Makeda's Bookstore in Nashville, Tennessee. And they have used books. Oh, my God. When I went there, I think I was in there like 3 or 4 hours. I was in Makeda's bookstore for like 3 or 4 hours. Because it's one of those, it's a bookstore / like video games, and if you want movies, and if you want gadgets, there is so much in that bookstore. But for me, I just went straight to the books. I'm not worried about the movies. And they have records too. They have records as well. I bought a record player about a year or so ago. So between me being in looking at the records and looking at the books, I think I was in there like 4 hours. And I left with so many books and so many records. I was like a kid in a candy store. I was just so excited and seeing the prices on these books and seeing books that I hadn't seen in over 20 years and finding all these different records of artists that I love. I appreciate stuff like that. I do. That made my day. I spent hours in there. That made my day. Just going through the different books and the different records. That's the type of things that I enjoy. And if they had some coffee in there, oh yeah, your girl would have been probably been in there about 6 to 7 hours. Because if you can give me some coffee and a good bookstore, I'm good. I don't need nothing else for that day. I'm good. But no, I would just love to hear, how has your book journey been going? And yes, Black girls, we read. We know we do. We know we read. We love to be educated, and we love to continue to read and then share those things with our friends and family. So Black girls, we read. But, what are you reading? What is your choice? What is your go-to? I would just love to hear your comments, your stories, your thoughts on that. And as always, this is the Black Educated Tea Podcast.